So the last step, let's look at Thursday. On Thursday, we have written our first model. So we used the step-by-step guide to create our graphic organizer. And now we have all of that finished, and we're going to write our first model. And so basically what you'll do is you'll use the graphic organizer that you created, and you will literally copy by highlighting and copying each section that you wrote from the title down to the last stanza, and you will paste it into a document where you will give it the title. You'll call it a model of Musée des Beaux-Arts. You'll put your name on it, and then you will write the poem that, well, you won't write it, you'll just paste it. You'll just paste it directly in here. So you'll copy it from here, and you'll paste it into here. But when you paste it in, it's not going to look like a poem. It actually might look more like paragraphs. And so when you paste it in, you have to deliberately decide where you're going to end a line and start the next. So this is the one I wrote, and I'm going to read it to you, and just sort of pay attention to how my lines end and how I move to the next. I made all of my own decisions based on whatever my reasons were. Sometimes it was I wanted it to end on a certain word. Sometimes I liked the way the next line looked. You'll make all of those decisions about what your poem says and how you want it to look. So let's read mine. Winning or losing, does it matter? About losing, the great players knew you couldn't win them all, in cards or in life. How you win some, you lose some, whether playing cards or losing your wallet. It happens to each of us once in a while. How there must be someone watching over because people might cheat. They might do anything to avoid losing, like the 8 members of the White Sox baseball team in 1920 trying to fix a game. Baseball fans everywhere didn't want to believe it. They just wanted to see their team play baseball. They show us loss over and over again. The carvings in the headstones, the mournings in the songs, the zeros in my bank account, the team that goes home after, more quietly, somberly, after the big game. Anyhow, in a bar somewhere, people are arguing over whether or not it was fixed, and a waitress, just trying to make a living, doesn't even realize that she too might be losing her battle. In saisons, the card players, for instance, surely each player knows he might lose, yet they study like they have a chance, while the bouncers against the wall watch with a careful eye to catch those who try to cheat to win, and the men study the hand they were dealt, trying to avoid the inevitable. So that's my model, and now let's go back to our weekly calendar. And on this calendar, you'll see that the last thing I ask you to do is revise your poem using the techniques suggested here. And so if you look at each of these starred items, they are ways you can make your poem better. So before you submit your poems, all of them, you'll want to go through your portfolio and make sure that it's a reflection of your best thoughts and work. So you should really labor over each word. Am I using the best word? Am I creating a precise image? You can ask someone else to read your work and have them offer suggestions. Does something sound too cliche or maybe not make sense at all? Remember, we're not trying to write mystery novels or riddles here. It's something that should make sense. Your goal, though, should be to refine and communicate clear ideas with attention to detail, and that detail should demonstrate clear reflections of the way you view yourself, the way you view the world around you, and whatever issues you see present in it. So remember that showing always works better than telling, and the best way to show is to create images. We create images by naming things we can see or smell or taste or hear or touch. And in the end, your model shouldn't look at all like the original. So by the time you're finished, it would look like maybe it was inspired by somebody smart or brilliant or creative or artistic, but it would be your ideas and thoughts in whatever form you chose. So you can use this checklist here to make sure that you have all of your poems. And after each poem, I want you to write a brief little paragraph explaining how your poem came into existence in terms of the choices you made deliberately, what words you chose on purpose or metaphors or figures of speech or other ideas you put in for some particular reason. And you can get an example of that just by looking at my graphic organizer, where I explain to you some of my choices. I write here in this column why I made some of the choices I made, and this is a good example of that. So if you did the work leading up to your poem, you'll actually already have the information you need for your paragraph as well. All right, and remember, your poetry is all due on Monday.